Welcome to Loving Me Before I Love You with Tammy Nicole, the podcast dedicated to you loving and putting yourself first. Others have come first in your life for years, and you know it's time for that to change. You're about to be empowered to set healthy boundaries, confidently have hard conversations, unapologetically put yourself first, and live the peaceful life you deserve. Remember, self-love is essential, and loving yourself sets the stage for every other love in your life. So get ready to embrace self-love like never before with your host, Coach Tammy Nicole.
Well, let's picture this. You walk into your home after a long day, and instead of feeling a sense of calm, you're immediately overwhelmed by the piles of laundry, the unopened mail, and random items you have been meaning to put away. It's not just the physical clutter, it's the emotional weight that comes with it. Every object seems to whisper a reminder of unfinished tasks, unfulfilled promises, or things you've been holding on to for far too long. Now let's flip the script and imagine that it's a different scene. You come in, it's a clean house, it's open space where everything has its place, and you're feeling lighter and freer and more in control. The truth is, the state of our surroundings often mirror the state of our minds. Today, we're diving into how you can declutter both your physical and emotional spaces to create a life that feels clear and intentional. It's Transformation Tuesday at Loving Me Before I Love You. We're super excited to be talking about how purging the clutter inside and out to make room for the life you truly deserve is super important. And this week, like no other week, I also have a guest. I have a professional organizer here with us. She's going to help whip y'all into shape, get that clutter out the way. Her name is Miss Dianne Jimenez, and she is here to join us. I'm super excited to have her. She is a mom of 3, so that means she knows the hustle and bustle of life. So don't think that she just organizes and get everybody else in order. And her life is just so easy. Welcome to the show, Dianne.
Thank you so much, Tammy. Thank you so much for having me here. That was a great introduction. I love it. And you're right. Being a mom, it's not pretty at all the time.
Right. It is life's greatest work. It is the greatest job. But over here, like, I really stress how loving yourself is super important. And even though you have this amazing job as a mom, you still have to learn to put yourself first. And so when we talk about the clutter, when we talk about being overwhelmed and just all of the mess that we kind of see in our physical space and how it actually reflects our internal space, it's like, man, I just have so much going on here. This is why the outside has a lot going on too.
That's right. Absolutely right.
What are some common or the most reasons people like struggle with letting go of physical clutter?
It's different for a lot of people, and a lot of it has to do with our emotions and our attachments to those items. So for instance, if we're talking about parents and moms especially, life is happening so fast. Our kids are growing at an exponential rate. You have, once you're settled into one phase of their life, it's onto the next and onto the next. And it's like, you don't have time to enjoy and then move on to the next phase and then kind of mourn that previous phase. So things are always going. So you're buying things, you're moving the clothes to the next bin or room or sort of storage space that you have. So you're buying the clothes, you're buying the toys, you're buying all the knickknacks. So a lot of times it's very hard to let go of those things because we're not yet ready, because it's just too fast. We have this emotional attachment to it, and we want to keep our babies small and young or in that phase that we love so much before getting on to the next one, that we kind of hold on to it, and it's very difficult to part. So a lot of it is an emotional attachment to those items. Now, I just talk about motherhood, but it could be anything, like our spouse, if they've passed away or something. or our children have moved on to another phase in their life. You want to hold on to their things because, I don't know, it's too fast. So that's one of the things.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see when we are emotionally attached to something that it can be very difficult to relinquish it, which then adds to the clutter, right? You're like packing on, packing on, packing on. How would you teach or tell someone to actually relinquish those ties, because you mentioned it's an emotional tie, right?
Mhm.
So if I'm emotionally tied to something, I could see that being very difficult to let go. But I
Yeah.
also need to keep my place clean. I also need to keep myself organized. So can I keep the things and stay organized, or do I have to let them go?
Well, it depends really about your life stage. So going back to like parenthood, right? The big decision for a lot of couples and a lot of parents, it's like, and clients that I have, it's like, are you planning on having more children? So when you're ready to move on to that next phase where you're no longer having children, you're finished with the baby stuff, you're finished with the toddlers things. So slowly, you can actually let go of that because now you're in a new phase of life. Yeah, so that's kind of like an example I can give that's the top of my head right now. Once you're in a new phase of your life, like another one would be if you have a new job, right? You're no longer, say, working in an office in corporate, and now you have your own business. So sometimes your business attire doesn't need to be, front and center of your everyday
Correct.
closet wear, like what you're wearing every single day. So sometimes those things can be purged and you can sell them or give them away or something like that. So it depends on really the stage of your life and if you're ready for it. That kind of helps with the decision making.
That's a good thing, being ready. I do think when you talk about letting go as a whole, being ready to let go is the key sign of the process of when you make that first step. A lot of times we are not ready to make a lot of moves. We want to. We mentally think about those things like, you know what? I know my child can't fit this outfit anymore, but I just have the memories. Oh my God, but they were just so cute when they wore them. And, it was the last time my mom was here when they, had this outfit on. All of those other emotional attachments that are attached to it. I always say when you have those types of situations, you need to make stuff more realistic and talk about the validity of it. Like, how valid is this for my life right now? Like,
Exactly.
what is this doing for me?
Exactly. But I find it's
How
very difficult.
keeping it doesn't even bring the person back. It doesn't take the person back to that stage of life. It's a simple memory. So instead of trying to hold on to the physical thing, take a picture of it, write a note about it, and then put it in a shadow box or put it in something that's a memory keeper, but get rid of the thing. Pass it on to someone you like that will cherish it the way you cherished it, but don't hold on to it.
Exactly. You said it perfectly. And it's exactly something that I did when we do that. We weren't having any more kids. I took a picture of my children's clothes. So stupid. I even took a picture of the baby clothes and like stuck it on my older kids' bodies and just took a picture of them. I took pictures of the bins that I got rid of because I wasn't yet ready to let go, but I needed to create space because we had none left. And ask me now if I go back to my Google photos to look at those pictures of the clothes in the bins. I don't. But I was so happy that I am able to I took those pictures. Like it was something that I needed to do and kind of like a closure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that you said take a picture because that's really key.
Yeah. I think when you do things that make you feel like you've done something, it makes it a lot easier. So a physical act in doing something towards the process of either letting go or cleaning house makes it a lot easier. It makes it more permanent. I think back to when I talk about emotional clarity and emotional clearing of the clutter, I am a big advocate of writing letters to whatever is clogging the space. And so if you write the letter to the thing, no matter what it is. It can be a person. It can actually be a thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You write the letter to the situation. You write the letter to the person. And you talk about how you feel about them. You talk about the space that they occupy in your life. You talk about all those things and you write it in a letter. And then you take that letter and burn it. Or you take it and sift it away in the ocean in a bottle, or you take it and put it in an envelope. And you basically are symbolically taking the space that they occupied and putting it on a sheet of paper that's a little smaller. The space is no longer as big as it was. And so it helps visually and physically take that space and put it into its rightful place, because it's occupying too much space that it doesn't even deserve. And a lot of times it'd be negative things that's occupying that space, you know?
And that's
so
super
I do think we need
important.
a physical thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, I love that you say that, because in putting whatever's in our mind, that's taking on so much mental weight and real estate, what we call mental real estate,
Yep.
in here, and putting it out on a physical piece of paper. It could be even like a Google Doc or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like decluttering your mind, decluttering your
Correct.
thoughts and your emotions, and just emptying that space so that now you have room to think logically, you know, more rational, and just able to weigh out like the pros and cons of keeping X amount of items, you know. So I love that you said that.
Yeah. So I'm a big advocate for journaling. If you listen to this show, you know, I say journal, journal, journal. So when your mind is super cluttered, brain dumping is super important.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to make any kind of sense. Sometimes I can brain dump, and if you turned around and read my thing, you'd be like, what is going on with you? And it doesn't have to be in any type of order. If you just got 50 million things going on in your mind about 50 different directions, that's too much going on. And you need to be able to be a clear thinker when you are trying to get organized, when you're trying to make business moves, when you are trying to parent. Like sometimes you have too much going on in your mind and you can't even parent appropriately because you can't think straight.
No, you're absolutely right. It's so true. When there's too much going on up here, you need to do something with it. So let it out on a journal in paper, not on the people around you.
Oh, that's a good point. But if you got a accountability partner, if you got a listening partner, by all means, tell them everything. Let it out on them. They prepared for it, you know, like, I mean, that may be your thing. Your thing may be that you have to talk it out. You know, everybody's method is not always the same, but you may have to talk it out. You may be able to say, hey, look, I just want to let all of my thoughts out on you. And you write down the things that was like super genius. When you hear something super genius, write it down and we'll talk about it later.
That's so good. That's so good. And it's so helpful to just empty your thoughts, you know. So
absolutely. How does organization actually play a role after you declutter? Like after you just like get it all probably sorted?
How does organization play a role in our everyday life?
Correct. Like when you decide I've decluttered, you know how sometimes what we'll do is go clean up, right? You're like, oh my God, my house is a mess. And then you go, you clean up, everything looks kind of sort of amazing. It just looks doable because you done stuffed everything someplace. But now you decided you're going to declutter. You're really going to clean it out. You're going to throw things away. How does being super organized play a role in staying decluttered, or shall I say clutter free for a longer term? Yeah.
Well, the thing about decluttering and being organized, like it's two different things. Decluttering is really purging the non-necessary, the thing that you don't need for everyday life or never again. And then organizing basically is putting everything in a strategic way in your house that goes with the way you move into every room. You know, so for instance, if you're cooking, you're not going to have your knives on one side and then your cutting boards across the other, you know, the other wall, and then your pots and pans are down here, and then your spices are somewhere else. You want to organize it so that the main activity, the main action that you're doing in that room, you have all the tools that you need specifically and strategically so that you're working efficiently in there. So that's what the organizing is. And the thing is, what a lot of people kind of get confused or get stumped on is that they think that organizing sometimes it's a one and done deal. It's done. I did it. I don't need to organize anymore. But that's really far from the truth, because I say organizing is very dynamic. So as your interests change and your children's taste buds change, you're gonna constantly have to organize and reorganize your pantry, your snack drawer. Some things will be staple, like your oils are where your oils are, but I'm talking about things that are constantly moving, like their clothes, their snacks, their whatever they're into right now, their activity, if it's Pokemon cards, or now they're into Lego, and now we're into animation drawing. So organization plays a key role once you've decluttered, because it's something that can move with your life and your life interests and your lifestyle. So I hope that answered your question on that.
It did. And actually, it made me think about my own life when you start mentioning the kitchen, and how things should actually flow. A lot of times we don't create flow in our lives. Yeah. We just move.
Yes.
We just move.
We just do. Because we don't know move. How else to move. But it takes you as a person that space kind of like to step back and say, hey, is this all working for me? Is this the best way for me to function in this space? Think about your bathroom routine. Are your creams up here and then your toiletries somewhere else, and then you have to get your towels somewhere else? Like, it has to make sense. It has to be as efficient as possible, because you have a life to live. You have things to do. You have places to go and people to see and to experience it. You don't need to be wasting so many minutes. It doesn't seem like anything, but minutes in the day to go here, there, and everywhere. Make sure, try to take a step back from your space and say, what is the main activity that we're doing in this room? And then go on from there. Where you're placing your items.
Yeah. You don't think about it that way. You don't really, when you see people that what I consider to be super organized, super nice and neat, and, everything has its place. A lot of times you look at those individuals and say they have too much time on their hands, they don't
have kids.
You say it. You say they have too much time on their hands to even think that through. Yes, that makes sense to put, the large towel right behind the small towel, or, to put your facial things on this side of the room when you do your face over here, but you do your hair over there. Yes, that makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah. But when I'm moving, when I'm on the go, I'm picking and going and I'm putting it back wherever I'm standing. I'm not thinking about that it goes back over here to the left side versus the right. Again, we're saying people that organize have too much time on their hands. But when you actually think about it, they're doing things from a stand of robotic and just routine. But their inside, their mental, their emotional is just as organized. They are able to compartmentalize how they feel. They're able to actually sift through what emotions they're experiencing and name them and sit with them and take a moment before responding, and not just on a whim, So I would just wonder if sometimes we probably could take an actual study. This is really making me think. We probably could take a study and look at a person that's emotionally all over the place and decide to just go to their house and just follow how they operate. Their house is probably all over the place too.
Probably.
Because they are mentally all over the place.
Yeah. There's a lot going on upstairs, and then there's life happening, and then the time, and it's just scattered. And there are people like that, and they function normally. They show up to work every day, and, they're good people. There's nothing wrong with them. They're good people, but, go behind closed doors and it might not, it's a little story. Yeah, it's a little chaotic. But yeah, people still function. People still, get up in the morning and they come home from work and they're okay.
Wow, today's episode is a good one. I know you're enjoying it, and we'll get back to it shortly. Just wanted to take a quick break to let you know that Tammy would love for you to share any questions, comments, or topic ideas you have with her. All you have to do is send them to her in an email to podcast@IamTammyNicole.com. Thank you, and without further ado, let's get back into today's show.
Right.
What tips could you give the listener who's like, man, they really are talking about me. Maybe I should really do something about it? Because I do think that sometimes if we do the physical first, the emotional part can follow, because you can actually think. You can actually be clear in mind without looking at the chaos. What steps would you give for them to move towards a decluttered physical space and more organized? Yeah.
Okay. So if this is something that they've never done before, and, if we're taking back the example of someone who's got all their things all over the place and it's very busy emotionally, up in their mental, and in their mind, the thing is and they don't want to get overwhelmed, because that's the big, I guess, the downfall in decluttering, because you have this big rush to do something, and then all of a sudden you're in the thick of it. You're just, eyeballs deep with all the stuff all over the place, and here you are trying things on that you haven't tried on, or looking at things that you haven't looked in decades, right? So in those cases, or if you've never done this before, my whole thing is to start very simple, very small, and start with things that have no emotional attachment to them. So for instance, you can just start with your dish towel drawer, where the placemats are, and the rags and the dish towels. Just organize that. You have, unless there's a tablecloth that's really dear and dear to you and stuff like that. Try to find a space, an area. It doesn't have to be really big. It has no emotion. You have nothing to do with it. So it could be your bathroom stuff, your toothbrushes and the creams and your whatnot, your the medications and everything. Just organize that, and then that's it. Just stop there. Once it's done and it's pared down to what exactly you need, and within that space that you want it to remain in, congratulate yourself. You did a great job. And then, celebrate that win. And then when you're ready again, move on to another space. Your sock drawer. That's it. Your sock drawer. Your pajama drawer. That's it. So space by space, little by little, simple places with less emotion. Because once you start, basically it's like a snowball effect. Once you start doing one thing after another, and you're seeing success after success, you get that momentum of hey man, I can do more. I can do a bigger space. But you need to start with small, simple, easy tasks first. So that would be my big tip.
Wow. So that's really good. While you were talking, I was thinking, if you run into things that are emotionally triggering, maybe you start yourself an emotionally triggering box. And instead of putting it back, put it in this box that you can then go through as one.
Yeah.
Later, right? So that means you didn't per se stop doing what you were doing or get hung up on that thing. You took that thing, you put it in this emotional box. You can have a ton of things from a ton of different spaces in your house.
Yes.
You mentioned the dish towel. Maybe grandma gave it to you and grandma's not here anymore and it really means something. Put it in the box.
That's right.
Don't think heavily on it. Don't go reminiscing. Don't go crying. Don't get emotional. Just say, oh, okay. And put that over to the side. If you get into your closet, and you find some clothes that, oh man, I remember when I was this size, and you start having emotional, put that in the box with that towel.
Yeah.
And I think that if you separate the things that are emotionally triggering out of the pile of everything else, then you may be able to get through more than one spot, more than one little area, because you're eliminating the emotional triggers to handle them a little later.
Yes.
And then move forward with everything else. Now, If you get into these clothes, and if you used to be a little smaller and you're bigger now and you start crying over them clothes, let it go.
Yeah.
Just let it go. I always say the things that hold you back more is the past, and the things that really should propel you forward is the brightness of your future. And so when you are so stuck on the past, it indicates that you have no control of your future. And the reality is you have all the control. Life does not have a rule book. You are the book. You are the directions. You are everything that you need in order to be what you want to be. I don't care if it's losing weight or getting a career that you desire, increasing your wealth, buying a new house, organizing this house to be, interior decorated the way you think the magazines are supposed to, whatever you're thinking, you have the power to do it. So why are we letting the past hold us up? Because that's really what's keeping the clutter.
Absolutely. I don't know what it is that we're holding on to, or that people are holding on to. I mean, I'm not perfect. I myself hold on to certain things, but I think the important thing that is the majority of our items that we deal with every day are the things that we have, that we need for everyday life to survive every single day, So I just, when you're speaking and you're talking about this, I'm just thinking about like myself and clients about just the thoughts that go in their mind as they try to move forward in their life. There's so many things holding them back, and it's like, why?
Yeah, it's more, and it's ironic that you are working more with them on the physical side of making the changes and being more organized in the physical, and they struggle with it because they haven't done the internal emotional and mental work yet. So they just had a thought that said, I would be better if this happened. And that this happened is that organization, clear, clean, decluttered space. But because they haven't had a mindset shift, it's difficult for them to even get into that space. Now, the ideal client in your world would probably be the one that says, you know what? Here are my sizes. Here's my ideal style. Here's the colors I'm super in love with. Go in and have at it. If it doesn't fit, get rid of it. Like being able to just say that and then walk away and give you 2 days, 3 days, whatever the amount of time necessary, and come back to something brand new, something that's astounding for them. Because half of the time, ironically, I always go back to clothes, even though I know it's more organization and more decluttering in someone's home. Clothes seem to be the thing that most people hold on to the most because they either want to get back into it or it just reminds them of some event that they attended or whatever. But if you go into their closet and say, when was the last time you wore this? Anything beyond 6 months ago, gotta go. You haven't picked it up in 6 months.
However, the problem is there's always, the what if? What if I can fit back into it? What if I'm going to go to that event again? What if I get invited? What if the person finds out that I don't have that item anymore and they had given it to me? What if I can't find this anymore at the store. I paid so much money for it. Or this is vintage. This is from like the 60s. So there's always this what if.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't have control of that, And there's so many things we don't have control of. So why are we putting more items in that bucket as opposed to taking control of our things, of our life, and just moving forward? It's very difficult for people to switch sides from out of control to getting in control. It's very scary because the unknown, the future is the future is very unknown, So, and then you fall back with regret. I got rid of it.
Yeah, but we change our mindset to being more so of, if I don't have it today, I can get it tomorrow because I can.
Absolutely.
I can buy a better version versus needing the old version. What fits me now, it just fits me now. It doesn't matter that I can't fit that anymore. Buy the new version of jeans.
Yeah.
The company still exists.
Yeah.
It's out of style. It's not coming back. I know bell bottoms was out and it came back, and I know these other, it's not coming back the same exact way it was.
No.
So we're going to do something new, do a new thing, do something new, and not be so boggled, tied down, and restrained by your what ifs.
Exactly. You said it right. That's perfect.
We have to be able to teach them to let go and create new because they're in control.
Yeah.
Like there is no other option outside of that.
Yeah. I was actually speaking to a friend of mine, and he has nothing to do with decluttering or anything, but he's a grief therapist or a grief counselor. And we were just talking one time, like a few weeks ago, and he mentioned, he's like, people have to, when it comes to decluttering, people they need that time to mourn and to grieve for whatever it was. And I was like, so he was like saying it's a type of therapy that person needs, so this whole thing just came to me. Like I'm thinking about your listeners who are like, well, I want to go there, but all these things are still here and I don't have that closure yet. And I need to deal with that emotion of letting things go. So that too could be like an obstacle in their path to a more clearer, lighter, more peaceful environment in their home.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. Grief is not just about the death of something or someone. It really is about the separation of it. It's about not being in connection. And so there are a lot of things that we grieve that we don't even realize it's a grief thing, a lot. And it's not just because of, it's people, it's things, it's our perception of things. It's how you perceive a thing is a real thing, because your perception is your reality. And so where the next person is like, are you really tripping over a towel? Like it's a towel. The other person is like, I'm tripping over this towel. So-and-so gave it to me, or I found it in the store and it was hiding under this and I got it for 50 cents and this towel is worth $300. Like whatever the case may be, right? It sounds real extravagant, but people rationalize and have the thought patterns and they provide value and weight to a thing that the average person is looking at as that value, that weight should be 0. And you just made it 100 tons. And I'm trying to understand the why. But nobody really has to understand the why but the individual with it, right?
Correct.
But you need to validate that why. You need to make it rationalize it for your reality and then turn around and make it valid for why it needs to stay. If you can't validate it to why it needs to stay, it has to go.
Yes.
I remember back in the day when I was younger, my mom, when it was time to clear things out, it would be like, okay, this is the keep pile. This is the maybe pile. This is the gotta go pile, and you would sort everything. Maybe pile would be a lot thicker than the go pile because you would be in that, oh my God, can I, should I, would I, whatever. But she would then get to the maybe pile. You put all the keep stuff up. The stuff that gotta go. But that maybe pal, we would literally have full-fledged conversations about what this maybe pal really means. And rationalizing the maybe made it a whole lot easier to let it go if it really needed to let go.
That's awesome.
I would say most of it went to the go pile. A couple of things stayed, but majority went to the go pal because your reason for even saying maybe sometimes is selfish. It's not necessarily realistic. It's just selfish. It's just the mere fact that you want to. You don't need to. You just simply want to. But your life has the capacity for necessity instead of wants. And when your capacity is on a necessity range, you have to let the wants go.
Yep. Absolutely. I love that your mom taught you that and like you went through with it with you every step of the way. And you don't get a lot of that, especially older generations.
Yeah.
They will just get rid of your stuff and not even tell you. It's gone. All those Star Wars games and the old baseball cards, all gone because she didn't want it in the house, so it's gone. And
That's
you're like,
true.
That is so true. I love that she taught you that and gave you that openness about it and that just educated you about it, so you're more aware, and it's helping you now in your future, like with you in your life right now. So that's really good.
Yeah, I still got to get organized though. That I'm not even gonna sit here and tell y'all no story. Because when you were talking about the flow of it, that flow part, I'm like, ooh wee. Yeah, I don't have no flow. I just know where stuff go, and it goes here. But now, granted, I always go back to the kitchen part because, I may put spices here because my stove is here, but my pots may be over here. And, I was just starting to think about
Well, it's funny
there may
because
not be no full flow.
No, it's funny because a few years ago when I was organizing someone's house and I think they just had a baby, and I was organizing their kitchen and she was working upstairs, and you're opening up the cupboards in the kitchen. You're like, wow, this doesn't make any sense. Why do we have tools in the kitchen? And then she explained why they have tools, because they had a lot of packages. So they need the X-Acto knives there. They need this, they need that, they need the tape, they need the labeler in the kitchen drawers. And I was like, this doesn't really make sense, but okay. And then after I saw other clients and families, because I deal mostly with families, and I think it's like what I said, you graduate from school, you meet someone, you get married, you have kids. So life is just going, you don't have time to step back and think and say, where should I put my plates, and how do I make a meal that's going to be efficient? We don't have time for that. We're just putting everything in the cupboard. If it fits, great. If it doesn't, we'll figure it out and just shove it wherever, and we'll get back to it when we have time.
Yeah.
And that time may never come in. It might be in 50 years.
It never comes. But a lot of it never comes because we don't make it come. Right.
Yes.
Which is really like where I am trying to emphasize to people in general, but mainly moms and women, because we tend to have what I call the multitasker plate, though there's no real such thing as multitasking. Everything is micro-minute focused, but we think because we know that this is happening over here and we kind of like paying attention. Oh yeah, I see that's going. And, we're just paying attention that we're doing things all at the same time, but that's not necessarily true. But I'm very an advocate for putting yourself first and being intentional with your time, and being self-aware. And so when we don't put our time and make sure our time is valued, then it just really allows us to kind of like be all over the place, right? Like the time just never comes. But everybody gets the same 24 hours in a day. It doesn't matter if you got 10 helpers and I have none. We all have the same amount of time in a day. So if you allocate a lot of your stuff to helpers, which gives you additional time for yourself, and I don't have any helpers, the first thing someone says is, well, you have help, so that doesn't count. Well, it does count because they chose to have helpers. And even if you cannot afford to have helpers, what you could still do is write in the same amount of time that they delegated to that helper to delegate to that item, whatever that item is. It's about delegation of time and planning it, like making it happen. So when you talk about organizing your life and organizing the kitchen or the closet or the kids' room or the media room or the whatever you have, when you talk about organizing it, you have to still make the time. So the first piece of time that I think you can make is write it out. Take a moment and write it out. Write out the space. Write out what you have. If I have 6 cupboards, or if I got 2 closets, or if I got 2 hanging spaces and, 2 short spaces for, pants on a pants hanger and shirts on a, like, what you have. Write it out. Plan it. Plan the day. Plan the time that you need to spend. And then go in and do it.
Yes, absolutely. And give yourself a time limit too. Like, don't go spending like years, months and months and weekends, or like,
Absolutely.
Give yourself a timer. Okay. This Saturday, I'm spending 2 hours on my closet. That's it. Because that's all the time I have. Or it could be just half a day and that's it. And it's done. You can nothing's stopping you from revisiting this project in 6 months from now. You'll have less to take care of because you've already done the work the first session. Now your next session is going to be next year. And then you give yourself that time, like a start and end time with a buzzer. That's it. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you find yourself becoming even more overwhelmed, because I do know that people will do that. Like, I'm going to go clean up my closet. And instead of doing something in an organized fashion, they take everything out. And now they're looking at this pile of stuff, and looking at the pile of stuff makes you even more overwhelmed that you now no longer even want to touch it. You're like, oh man, I'm good. I'm done.
What did I do?
Right. I didn't let the tornado hit the room, and this is not what I want to do. So you do have to bite small pieces. You can't do it all in one swoop. Take one drawer at a time, take 10 items at a time, whatever it is. But do it small.
Yes.
And when you finish, don't go, oh, I finished this. Let me go do the next one. Nope. Take a break.
Come back to it next week. Come back to it in a couple of days with another.
Take a break.
I have a closet decluttering challenge that I did last year in June. I knew there was a J in there. Last June. And it was like you could have done this in like half a day or like in a couple of hours, because I had a method of talking to my clothes as if it was like an ex-boyfriend,
Ooh,
and
I
just
like
looking
that.
at, and then, but like organizing it and looking and like separating my closet by category. So if you have like this giant closet, or you have a small closet and you don't know where to start, but you got clothes, organize your stuff by category, and say like, well, we're going to talk to the shirts today, the tops, and you talk to it. And I would say, I love you to each. And then if I had a but, it was out, kind of like a relationship. I was dating a guy years and years and years ago. And then he was talking about past relationships. And he said, whenever you say, I love you, but it's never going to work. So I was like, okay, that kind of stuck in my head years after. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to apply it to my clothes. So I did. I took the shirt. I love you. I love you. I love you so much. I love you, but out. I love you, but out. I love you, out. So I did that. It took me 10 minutes to go through my closets.
That is a very good idea. You know, my mother
Yeah.
used to say, whenever you say the word but, it eliminated what you said at first. So that
Yeah,
I love you kind of went out the door.
exactly. And like you said, there was the maybe pile that was there, and what I did, I tried it on, and I had my own criteria for myself of what
Yeah.
I was keeping, and what I was getting rid of. And yeah, my closet feels a lot airier right now. So.
Yes. A lot of freedom. You
Mm-hmm.
want the freedom. If
Yes.
you were to say to the listeners right now, like 2 key points on the importance of decluttering and organizing and how to like genuinely get started. I know we've told them several tips of what to do, but if
Mm-hmm.
they're like, man, I still don't know where to really start, what would be the first 2 things they would do to start? And what are the main 2 important things on why they should do it?
Okay. So just to go to reemphasize of when you start and you have no idea where to start, I would definitely suggest starting at a place that either you have no emotion attached to it and it's like, oh, I could just do this like it's nothing and declutter it in 15 minutes, you know? Or sometimes people start with the place that drives them completely bananas and it's just like I can't take it anymore. It's taking too much. It's an eyesore and it's stressing me out every time I look at it. So then start there. But start small. Start, if you just have to like scoop out one portion of it and take care of that stuff, do it. Give yourself a timer, start and end time, and then just chip away at that section little by little. And then, and then sooner or later, that pile or that section of your house that really annoyed you and just got you so riled up is now smaller. So you're less stressed and you're feeling lighter. So you can have better decisions on those items that you're still working on. But work at one spot at a time. Don't go jumping to the closet and then to the attic and then to the garage. Like, don't do that. It's too crazy. And it's just going to overwhelm you quickly to one project and wait and then finish it. And that's it. So, and your other question was, I forgot.
Why is it important? Give 2 reasons why it's important to declutter and stay organized.
Mental clarity. Peace of mind, more time and focus to live in the. I know I'm giving you more than 2, but focus. Time to focus on the things that really matter or that need your attention. So just by having more time, we all need that. So having less things to maintain gives you more time to do things you really want to do.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. When things are in order, you do find yourself having to do a little less, which frees up your time to do what you want to do for yourself a little more.
Yes.
It is
Absolutely.
super important to stay organized. It is super important to declutter, not only to declutter the physical space, but to declutter and organize your emotional inner space, your mental space as well. Dianne, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Please tell the people how they can get in contact with you if they needed some decluttering tips, if they need to get your decluttering little event that you did with the boyfriend tip of getting stuff out. How can they reach you?
So you can find me on Instagram or on Facebook at the number 1 tidy place. And my website is diannejimenez.com. And I also have a podcast too. That's called the Organized-ish Parent Podcast. So those are the places where you can find me. And by the time this episode airs, I will have a quiz that you can probably grab. And it's called What's Your Organizing Style, Mom? So from there, you'll find out your organizing styles and I'll have you some tips and strategies for you to get through the decluttering and organizing process with kids.
Awesome. Again, thanks for joining us. You guys know that if you want to get your mind organized, if you want to get your emotions organized, if you want to learn to do things for yourself, because loving you is super important, you know where to find me. always go to coaching at IamTammyNicole.com. And I'm so excited and willing to assist. Remember, love yourself so much that the love from others is a bonus. Have a good night.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on another episode of Loving Me Before I Love You. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a second to show your support by subscribing and leaving a positive rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Stay connected with Tammy. Make sure you're following her on Instagram and TikTok at Coach Tammy Nicole. If you like to work with Tammy or have any questions you'd like her to answer, please head over to www.IamTammyNicole.com. Until next time, always remember to love yourself so much that the love from others is a bonus.